The city glittered below, a sprawling galaxy of neon and ambition. But tonight, the rain made it weep. Elias Thorne stood on his penthouse balcony, the icy wind whipping at his designer suit. He was a king in this concrete kingdom, a titan of industry who had clawed his way to the top. His phone buzzed, a single, untraceable message cutting through the silence. "The debt is due tonight." The words sent a shiver down his spine, colder than the rain. Elias wasn't a man who owed anyone anything, or so he thought. But the past is a persistent ghost, a flicker of memory, a crowded office, a younger, hungrier Elias he remembered sabotaging a project, framing his brilliant colleague, Marcus, for a colossal failure. He could still see the desperation in Marcus's eyes as his career crumbled. Another memory surfaced, more recent, more haunting. A frantic late-night call from Marcus, begging for a loan, a second chance. Elias had ignored it, dismissing it as the plea of a broken man. Days later, he heard the news of a tragic accident, a family shattered. Elias had convinced himself it was just bad luck, a coincidence. He had built his empire on the ruins of Marcus's life and told himself he deserved it. But tonight, that long-forgotten debt felt very, very real. The next morning, the systematic dismantling of his life began. He woke up to a notification, account frozen. He called his private banker, a man who usually answered on the first ring. Voicemail. He tried to log into his corporate network. Access denied. Panic started to bubble in his chest. He turned on the news, and his own face stared back at him. Leaked documents, evidence of insider trading, of the very sabotage he had committed years ago, were plastered across every channel. His pristine reputation, his life's work, was being incinerated in real time. He needed to run. He threw a few essentials into a bagash, a passport, a burner phone, and headed for his garage. But as he looked out his window, he saw him, a silent figure standing across the street, wrapped in a dark coat, his face obscured by the perpetual city shadow. Elias didn't know who he was, but he felt a primal fear. This was no ordinary corporate espionage. This was something personal. He raced to his car, tires screeching as he peeled out of the garage. He aimed for the interstate, the escape route out of this nightmare. But the highway was blocked. A multi-car pileup, flashing lights painting the morning sky red and blue. A freak accident. He tried a side route, only to find it closed for emergency water main repairs. Every turn, every alleyway he tried led to another dead end, another coincidental obstacle. It was like the city itself was conspiring against him, its streets twisting into a labyrinth with no exit. Exhausted and cornered, he found himself driving on instinct, his hands gripping the wheel until his knuckles were white. He looked up and realized where he was. The car had led him back to the old, derelict office building where it all began. The place where he had sealed Marcus's fate. The dark-coated figure was waiting for him by the entrance. The air inside the abandoned office was thick with dust and decay. A tomb of forgotten ambition. Elias followed the silent figure through the darkened corridors, the only sound the crunch of broken glass under his shoes. They reached a large, empty office's old office. The figure finally turned, stepping into a sliver of moonlight from a grimy window. He was young, with eyes that held the weight of a generation's grief. "You don't recognize me," he said, his voice calm, yet sharp as a razor. "But you destroyed my father." Marcus was his name. It was Marcus's son, not a ghost, but something far more terrifying, a living consequence. Elias braced for a physical attack, a moment of violent revenge, but the young man didn't move. Instead, he pointed to a briefcase on the floor. "Inside that case is a hard drive," he explained. "It contains the only remaining unleaked copy of your financial crimes. Enough to put you away for life. It also contains the access codes to a new identity, a new life, and a clean bank account in a country with no extradition treaty. Enough for you to disappear forever." He then gestured to a small, rusty lever on the wall. "That lever," he continued, "controls the emergency fire suppression system. If you pull it, the entire floor will be flooded with a corrosive chemical used to put out electrical fires. It will destroy the hard drive instantly, but the door will also lock, and the fumes are lethal. The vents are sealed. You'll have a few minutes, maybe. So you have a choice, Elias. The same kind of choice you gave my father. Save yourself and destroy the evidence along with everything else. Or face justice, take responsibility for what you did, and walk out that door with me." The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Elias looked at the boy, then at the briefcase, then at the lever. The instinct for self-preservation, the one that had guided his entire life, screamed at him. Responsibility? Justice? Those were words for the weak. For the people who ended up like Marcus, he was Elias Thorne, a survivor. Without another thought, he lunged for the leva and pulled it down with all his might. A loud clang echoed through the room as the heavy door slammed shut and locked. Hissing sounds erupted from the ceiling as a foul-smelling gas began to pour in. He had won. He had chosen himself, just as he always had. But as he turned, gasping for air, a massive screen flickered to life on the far wall. On it, he saw his own panicked face, grotesquely illuminated by the emergency lights. It was a live broadcast. He saw the tickers running at the bottom of the screen. Fugitive CEO Elias Thorne chooses to die rather than face charges. Thorne's final act confirms his guilt. The young man hadn't offered him an escape. He had offered him a stage. The choice wasn't about a hard drive or a prison sentence. It was a psychological trap designed to expose the rotten core of his soul to the entire world. The corrosive gas was a lie. The lever only locked the door and started the broadcast. As the air in the room slowly cleared, Elias Thorne stood alone in the darkness. His reputation was gone, his fortune was gone, and now his final shred of humanity had been stripped away and put on display for all to see. He sank to the floor, the vast emptiness of the office mirroring the hollowness inside him. He finally understood the debt was never about money or power. It was his soul. And tonight, he had finally declared bankruptcy. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one.